Shrimad's divine grace, founder of Iskana Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantara Shrimadbhagavatam ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Harikunja Bihari ki, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladeva Subhadra ki, Shri Nataji Shri Balagopal ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Yitai Go Prem. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the Lord and Spirit of Shri Guru, Shri Gaura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narottama Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tujayam Udiraye Nasta Praisha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text 41. 42. Yata Gavo Nasi Protas Yata Gavo Nasi Protas Chanyam Tantyam Badhas Cha Damabi Tantyam Badhas Cha Damabi Vak Tantyam Namabir Badha Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha Bahanti Balim Isitu Bahanti Balim Isitu Yatagavo Nasi Protas Yatagavo Nasi Protas Tantyam Badhas Cha Damabi Tantyam Badhas Cha Damabi Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha Baham Balim Isitu Bahanti Balim Isitu Please chant.
Yatagavo Nasi Protas
Yatagavo Nasi Protas
Tantyam Badhas Tadamabi
Tantyam Badhas Chadamabi
Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha
Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha
Bhaganti Balimisitu
Bahanti Balimisitu
Nasti Protas
Natagavo Nasi Protas
Tantyam Badhas Cha Damabi
Tantyam Badhas Chadamabi
Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha
Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha
Vahanti Balim Isitu
Bahanti Balimisitu Yatagavo Nasi Protas Tantyam Badhas Chadamabi Bhaktantyam Namabir Badha Bahanti Balimisitu Yata as much as Gava cow Nasi by the nose Prota strong Tantyam by the thread Badha bound by Cha also Damabi by ropes Bhaktantyam in the network of Vedic hymns Namavi by nomenclature Badha conditioned Bahanti carry on Balim orders Isitu for being controlled by the Supreme Lord Yataganto Nasi Protas Tantyam Badhas Chadamibi Bhaktantyam Namibir Badha Vihanti Balimisitu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. Please repeat. As a cow, bound through the nose by a long rope, is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Every living being, whether a man or an animal or a bird, thinks that he is free by himself, but actually no one is free from the severe laws of the Lord. The laws of the Lord are severe because they cannot be disobeyed in any circumstance. The man-made laws may be evaded by cunning outlaws, but in the codes of the Supreme Lawmaker, there's not the slightest possibility of neglecting the laws. A slight change in the course of God-made law can bring about a massive danger to be faced by the lawbreaker. Such laws of the Supreme are generally known as the codes of religion, under different conditions, but the principle of religion everywhere is one and the same, namely, obey the orders of the Supreme God, the codes of religion. That is the condition of material existence. All living beings in the material world have taken up the risk of conditioned life by their own selection and are thus entrapped by the laws of material nature. The only way to get out of the entanglement is to agree to obey the Supreme. But instead of becoming free from the clutches of Maya or illusion, foolish human beings become bound up by different nomenclatures, being designated as Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, Hindus, Mohammedans, Indians, Europeans, Americans, Chinese, and many others. And thus, they carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord under the influence of respective scriptural or legislative injunctions. The statutory laws of the state are imperfect, imitation, replicas of religious codes. The secular state, or the godless state, allows the citizens to break the laws of God, but restricts them from disobeying the laws of the state. The result is that the people in general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than by obeying the imperfect laws made by man. Every man is imperfect by constitution under conditions of material existence, and there is not the least possibility that even the most materially advanced man can enact perfect legislation. On the other hand, there's no such imperfection in the laws of God. If leaders are educated in the laws of God, there is no necessity of a makeshift legislative council of aimless men. There is necessity of change in the makeshift laws of man, but there is no change in the gold-made laws, God-made laws, because they are made perfect by the all-perfect personality of Godhead. Codes of religion, the codes of religion, scriptural injunctions are made by liberated representatives of God in consideration of different conditions of living. And by carrying out the orders of the Lord, the conditioned living beings gradually become free from the clutches of material existence. The factual position of the living being is, however, that he is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. In his liberated state, he renders service to the Lord in transcendental love, and thus enjoys a life of full freedom, even sometimes on an equal level with the Lord, or sometimes more than the Lord. But in the conditioned material world, every living being wants to be the Lord of other living beings, and thus by the illusion of Maya, this mentality of lording it over becomes a cause of further extension of conditional life. So in the material world, the living being is still more conditioned till he surrenders unto the Lord by reviving his original state of eternal servitorship. That is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita in all other recognized scriptures of the world. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshursunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Looking to Bhagavad Gita, which is again further description of this path of devotional service, in chapter 12, text 20 of the Bhagavad Gita, Ye tu dharmamritam idam yato pitam parupasate shradadana mad parama bhaktaste tiva me priya. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me, speaking of Krishna, the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Srila Prabhupada brings out in the purport, in this chapter from verse 2 through the end, from Mai Avesya Mano Ye Mam, fixing the mind on me, through Ye Tu Dharmamritam Idam, this religion of eternal engagement, the Supreme Lord has explained the processes of transcendental service for approaching Him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and He accepts a person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman, or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna, and the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter it is decided that through good association one develops attachment for pure devotional service, and thereby accepts a bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path to self-realization for the attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Om, Absolute Truth, as described in this chapter, is recommended only up to the time one surrenders himself. Jai Shri Radha Krishna, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai for self-realization. In other words, as long as one does not have the chance to associate with a pure devotee, the impersonal conception may be beneficial. In the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, one works without fruitive result, meditates and cultivates knowledge to understand spirit and matter. This is necessary as long as one is not in the association of a pure devotee. Fortunately, if one develops directly a desire to engage in Krishna consciousness in pure devotional service, he does not need to undergo step-by-step improvements in spiritual realization. Devotional service, as described in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is more congenial. One need not bother about materials to keep body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. So, this is the difference between the laws of man and the laws of God. Because along with the laws of God that are more or less established as things we should not do, is also established the things that we should do. So here, the general term being described as devotional service encompasses many, many broad and variegated subjects that can be taken part in as devotional service by the servants of the Supreme Person. So a distinction also is being made here between the distinction between the impersonal perspective realized as beneficial to coming to understand the personal aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when one does come to that understanding, then the devotional service to the Supreme supersedes all other activities that one would engage in.
Okay.
So,
Include sleeping.
see those, yeah, well, we take rest.
Okay.
See what a point I was wanting to make about the difference between the laws of men and the laws of God are that man is not able to establish activities for other human beings to engage in that will give him eternal benefit. And what he does do, though, is to provide understanding of what the breaking of laws, what kind of punishment will be derived from the breaking of God's laws. But see, Krishna not only gives the understanding of the punishments that are there, but he gives a means to be able, for the soul, to be able to control itself, to control its senses, and to be able to live a life with a satisfied experience, so that all the activities that would normally be engaged in by the human being can be dovetailed towards service that will provide eternal benefit. Not just a keeping of the laws of the human beings to somehow live peacefully here on the earth, which is nice, but that comes automatically. And so we see as an elevated nature the laws that Krishna gives to his devotees, following the laws of the land, so to speak, enables one to live peacefully within the land that those laws are governed by. Following the laws of Krishna, however, give one access to the land in which there is no end, the eternal energy known by all those who dwell in that atmosphere, cherished the relationship with the Supreme, who has given to all those who are there that which they need to be able to understand their divine relationship with the original person. And that is ultimately what we are all looking for in our pursuit in this world, for all these things that we think will satisfy us. So Krishna gives laws pertaining to that. And all the Vedas set down scheduled times and regulated times and observances of fasts and sacrifices and things of that nature pertaining to the things of this material world. But unique to this age now that we are living in, even though it is the most fallen, because Lord Chaitanya has chosen to reveal himself, he gives the most elevated knowledge and laws pertaining to the most elevated souls who are dwelling in the most elevated place, the eternal dwelling. So we know by following these principles that we follow in the chanting of the holy names, just like a citizen of the state doesn't every day have to take in regard to his mind, making it a difficult task to keep the laws of the land, a devotee, we recite the laws, 10 offenses against the holy names every morning, every day. But we don't recite them thinking of them to be something difficult to keep. It's more or less a matter of living, that these are automatically kept by devotees who are practicing day in, day out the chanting of the holy names, because automatically by the chanting, the natural development of the quality that one develops by developing this attachment to Krishna, attachment to the person who Krishna is. And then automatically, the attachment we have to all the other things that we were thinking we were deriving some satisfaction from, it just goes away when you have that which is superior given to you in place of that which was inferior. There's no question in your mind of what you want to hang on to then. And that's what Bhagavatam gives us. And that's what life becomes an experience of. The same mood developed by the devotees of the past put into the literature being written in such a way we can develop the mood by the reading of the literature towards the Supreme Person that is in fact reassuring within us that Paramatma, the super soul, that relationship we want to have. Because this is a constant, ongoing relationship. I was brought to the realization this morning why I don't very much participate in group participation in taking prasadam, honoring prasadam together, because I talk too much.
Okay, no, you totally not.
I talk too much. And see, if I sit at the table with everybody, I keep talking, I don't get to take prasadam. I get done, then everybody's done, and I'm sitting there, a plate full of prasadam, because I can't keep my mouth shut.
Okay, he's gonna be.
This is because of the relationship that's going on with me and Super Soul.
Okay.
And to me, it's such an exciting experience. I want to tell people about it. I want to say the experience I'm having, because it's joyful. It's beyond what I ever believed in the beginning stages of spiritual advancement that I would be able to experience the levels of happiness that one comes to have by knowing the things given to us by the words coming out of the very mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Lord Sri Krishna. He's revealing all these aspects of life that set forth before us a challenge. Every day is like a challenge to do a little better than we did the day before, isn't it? And to be able to accept that which is put before us as a responsibility, with looking at it as a privilege, that we are being looked at as such that has the ability to meet the requirements necessary to perform the functions that we are being given in Krishna consciousness to do. And we know by the constant application of the principles and by adhering to keeping the principles, and especially the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, then ability comes within us increasingly to adhere to the principles and to take part in the spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're not an ordinary person if you're on the spiritual path. And Krishna elevates those on the spiritual path as being 1 out of 1,000,000. And out of those who are on the spiritual path, he regards with specificity, you can say that one, those who are more and more and more advanced, giving us the idea and the realization that there is no end to the progress one can make spiritual on this path, this eternal path of Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, coming to learn the means of being able to think the way God regards the thoughts human beings should be experiencing. That's what Krishna consciousness is. Learning from Krishna how to think, what to think, how to act, what to do, what kind of people to have as friends, and what kind of people to persuade, to become a friend to everyone. This Krishna consciousness has the function and the ability for us to become friends to everyone we meet, because we have the greatest treasure this human form of life has. And in this age, for everyone that is in this human form to be able to receive and understand wholeheartedly their connection with the source of all knowledge, all power, all love. And by that connection, then we live our lives in a completely removed manner from that function society is demanding of all of its residents, because you're no longer a citizen of this world. When you surrender your life to the Supreme Person, you can simultaneously perform the functions of a citizen of this world while you are gaining citizenship into the spiritual world. And day by day, it's a recognizing of what features, what fringe benefits are included in the process of developing this spiritual consciousness. It far exceeds that being offered by those who are promising a few pieces of paper with numbers on it. I will give you a piece of paper with a number on it if you will do this for me. And then together we'll both make more pieces of paper with bigger numbers on them. This is the result of working hard in the material world to gain the ability to have more time to work hard in the material world. And that's what the result of the rewards of the material world produce. Whereas that which is done and experienced consciously by those very fortunate human beings who have come in contact with the process of spiritual understanding, which Krishna consciousness is, that the International Society of Krishna Consciousness is having to offer to the world, that eternal experience of divine love, pure, which prods one to want to give this to everyone. This divine knowledge is so far elevated to remove us from all the dangers and the problems at every step that we find ourselves exposed to when we go out into the material society that all the nations of the world have set up within them. Building kingdoms for enjoyment of the living beings in this world, thinking that it is itself the eternal dwelling, but not knowing with that in mind that all of this will come to an end. The whole environment that we are living in currently has an ultimate end. And all that being revealed to us by Bhagavatam is the means for us to be able to come into that environment where there is no end, to come in contact with that substance of eternal truth, absolute, and serve that person who is the embodiment of that absolute truth. He is law embodied. He is truth embodied. He is power embodied. Krishna is all that. Knowledge, embodiment, and divine presence, purity of force, wholesomeness of association. And we as devotees get all that as a reward, fringe benefit, a clear mind, without guiltiness of having performed activities in this world that are not favored by God himself. But having a clear conscience that one day we will embrace God. He will embrace us. As much as we embrace these teachings that he gives us, it is teaching us. The more we embrace these teachings with our hearts and minds and all of our strength, the more will be reciprocation from Krishna himself that we will ourselves experience and come to know the happiness of. It is Krishna's own happiness that he wants to give us. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness and the meaning of the substance of the soul, the bliss that the soul is. The energy of God comes from within God, that it is, that Krishna wants us to become aware of in how we can serve him in that eternal manner as well, finding our eternal relationship and where we fit in eternally, to take part in those gradually learning all the kinds of activities we can take part in and become perfected in, and not limited to that we're doing today. You're not limited to whatever you think yourself restricted to. As a spiritually minded bhakta, now you are unlimited to pursue and find the capabilities you are able to reach by the devotion and love you have in your heart, to be completed, to be perfected in love, in love.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's what we want. And that's what Krishna is offering each and every one of us. The perfection of love. The perfection of human experience.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what love is meant to be, for us to be able to know God as that source and that power within us, sharing this body with us, opening up doors before us that otherwise we would not have the eyes to be able to see the opportunities available. To every other human being we come in contact with in this world, from here on in, is an opportunity to give them that love that we have found so dear to us, that we found an eternal link with. Now, it will only increase if we give it. And increase it does, the more we give it.
Reciprocation.
Huh?
Reciprocation.
Reciprocation. Yeah. Reciprocate with Krishna, and then he gives us reciprocation with others through their realizations that we get from them, from all those that you inspire to become spiritually minded. You gain the benefit of their realizations as well, and find many times that realizations of others can become even more precious to us. And then what to speak, finding that the encouragement maybe sometimes that we have given others has been that has inspired them in such a way that we become more inspired and enlivened and enlightened by that which we haven't been able to find ourselves. If we take the energy, the effort, make the effort to give to others that which we have found to be so precious to ourselves, then we will find by that act the reciprocation we are looking for. Without wanting, just waiting, it'll come to me. Krishna says, that we should take this perspective, not to think that we have to go out and then make this endeavor to get things for ourselves. As we become qualified to use the things we need in this world, they will be provided. And as we learn that by our day-by-day activities, and we see Krishna opening up doors of opportunity, it will become so much a day-to-day experience. Nothing will be able to turn us away from this glorious Krishna consciousness that these teachings are meant to be able to give us the experience of.
That's super soul.
Super soul.
The super soul.
Super soul in us.
Yeah.
The Bible says, God in us, the hope of glory.
Okay.
So our hope is that we can see Krishna's qualities that he has manifesting from us to be able to give that association that Krishna is to all those that he gave association to. The super soul in us is able to give others that, how can we say, mutual. Because super soul is super soul. Super soul in you is the same person of super soul in me. And so every human being that has reached higher levels than we have come to yet doesn't mean that they're unreachable. So all these perfected human beings that we read about having direct association with Krishna in the various incarnations Krishna has revealed to us, we can know it's available to us also. We just have to pursue that relationship with Krishna that we find most dear to be fulfilling to us. And each of us being individual, Krishna gives so many varieties of activities to choose from. and every one giving a different taste to the devotee that chooses to take that activity. So life is glorious, so glorious an experience to have. We should cherish every moment that we have the opportunity to be experiencing life at its fullest. What did Christ say? I came that you could have life and life more abundantly. And that's what Krishna does. He comes to make available to his devotees an experience to elevate them out of the sufferings of the material world. Krishna does all this for us. Now we have to reciprocate to show him how thankful we are that he has removed us from that which would otherwise have dragged us into the pits of hellish circumstances.
Okay.
And right now, how many souls there are in that state of suffering, living every step they take in fear, in doubt, in worry, in grief. Yet we have been shown the means of being able to experience the highest levels of love of God. Through this glorious singing of God's holy names, which are empowered by he himself, the one whose names they describe. And he says he has put all of his potencies in these names and in the singing of these names. So that includes, see, just like we may exalt personalities within this world, by the authority they have gained the ability to directly command other human beings. But ultimately, by fulfilling the responsibility we as human beings have to express the appreciation we have for what Krishna has made available to us, fulfills all the requirements human beings have to one another in their responsibilities of respect, proper etiquettes, dealing with one another on a friendly basis. These things come automatically to the devotees who engage themselves in devotional service, because they're trying to make things better for everyone else. And as we live our lives with that mentality, wanting to do what is good for everyone, and we fulfill that responsibility by using the energy that we have, applying it to the spiritual purpose of the Supreme Person who has set a path for us to be able to follow with specific instructions, and giving us the free will to be able to use that free will to choose the aspects of that path that pertain more pertinently to our specific set of circumstances. We all have different desires, so we've all developed different abilities leaning towards the fulfillment of those desires for the purposes we have in life. And I speak in very general terms because it's applicable, the spiritual path is applicable to all people in all walks of life, no matter what condition you find yourself in at any moment in your existence here. And the path of salvation, the path of eternal truth, the path of knowing the supremely powerful, all-powerful person is there in these Vedic literatures that are being given to us to learn from and to experience the happiness from that they give us, to know that the substance that we're made of, this is the substance we're made of. The joy brought about by the relationship developed by the study of these Vedic literatures, and ultimately with Krishna personally. But all of Krishna's friends too produce that same kind of love. It's all producing the same love with different tastes, different levels of advanced spiritual fruit, the food of the soul. That fruit which Srila Prabhupada describes that is given by those spiritual living entities who have gained access to the spiritual world, performing the function of providing fruits to those in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada says they can provide any kind of fruit. Any tree in the spiritual world can provide any kind of fruit. However, the quality of that fruit far exceeds any kind of fruit we can even think of in our minds in this material world. That which is consumed by those living entities in the spiritual world is that which is the substance of their bodies, which is eternal. And that's what all the scriptures are coming to lead us to be able to taste the reality of this eternal substance that the soul is, the reality of itself. And it's all rasa, it's all relationship with Krishna. And every paragraph we read induces relationship on our part, forces the mind to put itself in relationship with Krishna, just by the reading of these verses. You realize that, don't you? When you think about it, it's what it does. When you read something Krishna says, immediately your mind is jumping. Oh, wow. You're either jumping for joy or else you're suffering from guilt of something you did in the past. But it's relationship. It's all relationship. And ultimately coming to know that that relationship is with the one who is the greatest friend to every form of life there is. He's our buddy. He's our best friend, the greatest friend there is. And he has come here specifically for each and every single one of us. From the cockroach, the ant, the bird, the tree, the elephant, the deer, the bear, the alligator, the shark. All of us, we're all included in that has come directly from the body of the Supreme Person because of desire to be the Supreme Person. Now, by developing the desire to serve the Supreme Person, we can come to know the happiness that the Supreme Person wants to share with us, that we have separated ourselves from, by separating ourselves from the source of happiness, which He is. And once we're connected like we are, it can be an every moment experience, glorious bliss, hard to contain, glorious bliss, hard to contain, necessary to give, to continue to experience. So that's all we got to do all day long is just give. And that way we'll have more and more and more to give. This is how you get. You get by giving. You get by giving. The more you give, the more you get. So the more it's an encouragement to give more. Giving is what produces the happiness. And it's the energy that love is. Love is giving of itself. So this that Srimati Radharani and Krishna are having with each other, it's that giving that they have towards one another. Krishna looks at Srimati Radharani, it's described that he is seeing in her a love for him that he's not thinking himself to have the joy of himself. Can you imagine? And this that they're having it as an experience with one another as they look gazing into each other's eyes is increasing at every moment. This is the nature described to us that Krishna is having with love, Shrimati Radharani, in the form that love itself manifests in her completeness. And they both combined want to give themselves to us in the form of Lord Chaitanya to be sharing these bodies with us also. And that's what Super Soul is, bringing us to the summum bonum of the completeness of perfection of that this human form of life has offered to us by somehow fate has given us this very most opportune situation to find ourselves in at a time in which God has come here just a very short period of time ago. 540 years ago, Lord Chaitanya was here. From the demigod's perspective, this was just 540 days ago. But from Krishna's perspective, it's just a moment. And he's ruling now this universe. He's in charge of the universe. So, by surrendering yourself to the Supreme Person, you're surrendering yourself to the person who's in charge of everything. And now he's giving you the opportunity to use his energy in his service to the ultimate that your senses can be used. It's going to perfect, he shows us the way to perfect the senses of the body by keeping the regulative principles, how to apply these senses to where at the end of this life they will gain the ability to continue that service eternally. And so every sense that we engage in Krishna's energy then gets the opportunity to be in that position where Krishna can enable it more constantly, giving us the ability that he is, unlimited ability. That's what we develop compared to what it would be otherwise without Krishna, only limitations. But now with Krishna, what is the limitation? What is anything that can keep us from fulfilling that which Krishna has put us here for? If we didn't choose to get here, still we can be assured that Krishna made the arrangement for us to be here. Yeah. And personally. Then when we develop that relationship with Krishna personally, it is he the friend, the greatest friend that we've ever had, that we can express in every act we do now. Can express that appreciation for Krishna that he's.
So it's not in our arrangement.
It's not in our arrangement, it's in Krishna's arrangement. So he's got a plan for us greater than we could make for ourselves. And what we can do in Krishna consciousness is seek daily to know what that plan is for us. What a challenge. Krishna, help me to know what you want me to do today and give me the ability to do that as perfectly as I can, as you give me the ability to do. And in that we'll find full fulfillment of this human form of life. And we'll find satisfaction. And ultimately, the greatest aim is to know love in its fullness, pure love of God. That's the aim we should make life to be, to know God and the fullness of what that means. Joy. Any comments, any questions, any realization you'd like to share? Anyone? Now we all know everything.
No.
We all have all power at our hands' reach. Isn't that? So, our questions have been answered. We carry out our responsibilities for the day, and our lives will be sublime. Chant and be happy, and live life to the fullest. Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.